Hi, and welcome to the Biomass Magazine podcast. We are here live from the International Biomass Conference and Expo trade show floor. And I am here with Glenn Stastny of Schaeffer's Manufacturing Company. Glenn, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So, why don't we begin by having you tell us a little bit about Schaeffer's Manufacturing Company? How old is the company and how did you get started?
Well, we're kind of old. We've been around since 1839. We started by making the Black Beauty axle grease for the wagons going to California. And then we made the red steam engine oil for the steamers going up and down the Missouri and the Mississippi. So we didn't make as many products as we make right now, but we made a couple of them that got us started in this whole thing. So
Okay. So, tell us a little bit about what makes Schaeffer's Manufacturing Company unique.
we're a family owned company. We have been since 1839. We're on our seventh generation. So there are a number of people within the family that are a part of our day to day operating. We have the COO, CEO, they're part of the family. We have our vice president of operations as part of the family. There's roughly about, I would say three or four other people that are involved with the day-to-day operations. The nice thing about us is that we can't be bought or sold. So when I came to work for this company roughly about 30 years ago, that's one of the things that I was looking at is acquisitions and mergers and stuff like that happen. Sometimes you don't know from day to day, okay, am I part of this company or I'm now part of this company?
Mhm.
And so the nice thing about that, when I interviewed with them, they said we can't be bought or sold. It's a chartered organization. We can buy, but we can't be bought or sold. So that's a good thing.
30 years is a long time.
It is. It is. In fact, I was visiting with some of the sales reps. We just had our national convention, and to see the difference in sales reps, there's a number of guys that are with us 40 and 50 years,
Wow.
and then there's a number of guys that were at our national sales convention in January, and they've only been there 1, 2, or 3 years. So the difference in setup, and a lot of the people came just like I came
Mm.
saying, okay, what do you offer me? And they explained everything. And so it was like, hey, this is a good fit. This is really good. And we've got people, guys that used to make drapes now sell lubricants. Guys that were mechanics now sell lubricants. We have a number of retired military personnel. In fact, the person that I'm working with at the show, Derek, is a retired military personnel. And so we have a number of those also.
That says something a lot about the
Yes,
company.
yes, it does. It does.
So, what types of lubricants does Schaeffer's make?
We make almost everything. We make a lot of different engine oils. The thing that sets us apart, Anna, from a lot of other companies
Mhm.
is we take the highest quality stock base that we can. We don't own any oil wells or refineries. We're buying these stock bases from a number of different companies out there on the market. Then we put our additive packages in. And the big thing that we're looking at is in the engine oil industry, we're looking at longer oil drains, better fuel economy, longer engine life. We've got engine semis that are running 1 million miles out there. They are doing that by doing 50, 60, 70,000 mile oil drains. We do that in the engine oil. We do it in the hydraulic oil. We see a decrease in heat. If you look at the agricultural side, they do a lot with orbital motors, decrease in heat, increases the life of the orbital motor. If you look at it in the industrial side, once again, you're decreasing temperatures. And when you do that, you're increasing the life of the component. So a standard that we live by is if you can decrease the temperature by 18 degrees, you will double the life of the component and or double the life of the lubricant. So when you do that, that's part of the reason why we're able to go to longer oil drains in the trucking industry, in the industrial industry. We base that all off of the use of oil analysis. Some guys will say, oh, we change our oil at 1,000 hours. Why do you change your oil at 1,000 hours? Um, don't know. We change it at 1,000 hours. Okay, well, what if you used oil analysis to determine what that is? It's like you and I going to the doctor. What's the first thing that happens when you go to a doctor for a checkup? Oh, you got to pee in a cup. You got to give us some blood so they can determine what's going on inside of us.
Right.
Same thing that we can do with the oil analysis. We take a look at what are your bearings looking like? What are all, are you bringing in any fuel? Are you bringing in any bad air? Do you possibly need to change an air filter? Different things like that. So the oil analysis tells us that, but it also tells us that in a gearbox that does not have, fuel or air coming in, it's an enclosed cavity. Okay, is there something going on in that gearbox? Also, in the hydraulic setup, is there something going on in the hydraulic systems? So we look at longer oil drains, better fuel economy, or decreased electrical draw in the industrial oil or in the hydraulic oil. We can actually do what's called a power meter study, and we can hook up to the leads and show. And most of the guys can see this even on their amp gauge, but we can look up to the leads and show different decreases. Okay, previously running this load, you saw this type of a draw. Now running the same load, just a different lubricant, now you saw this type of a draw. And so that gives the customer some advantages where they can say, okay, this company does these things for me. We're going to be a little more expensive, but in the end, it's about decreasing your bottom line operating costs. And what we tell a lot of our customers when we go in there, we know what you're doing right now works for you. We would like to show you a little different concept so that you can take a look at it and say, how could I save money in my operation? And that's what we look at with a lot of those people.
Great answer. So, what can Schaeffer's do for equipment manufacturers?
So one of the things that we've done, actually, one of the equipment manufacturers that is at this show, we started working with them in their pellet mill setup, and we had a grease, just our kind of one of our regular greases that we went into their setup with, and they liked what they saw, and so they came back to us and said, "Is there anything that you can do for us?" And we said, yes. What we'll do is we sent some of our people, our technical people, into their facility, took a look at what their guidelines were, then took a look at what our head chemists and technical people thought they needed, put it together. And so what we did for them is we took their bearing life on their pellet mills from 900 to 1,200 hours, depends on what they were pelletizing. Okay. And we have now taken them out to over 4,000 hours. So 4 times the amount. So it kind of goes back to just like what we were talking about before. If you make a better lubricant, so that we can make longer life, longer component life in this application. One of the other things that they saw versus some of the other lubricants that they were using is we came in there and the first thing they said is, oh, our heats went up. Oh, that's not good. We look at that and say that's not good. But why did your heat go up? Well, we did a diagnosis of it and said, actually, you're putting too much product in right now. And so when we did that, we actually decreased the amount of product that they're using. I've seen anywhere from 10 to as much as 15%. And so when you take a look at that setup, so I've decreased the amount of product using, I've increased the life of their components. So what have I done in a big way is I decreased their bottom line operating costs. Right now, that's a major thing in this industry or in any industry out there. If we're able to decrease your bottom line operating costs, that's a major thing. It's like what we say, it's not the cost to buy, it's the cost to use. Sometimes you're going to want to use a little bit more expensive product or unit or component, whatever, because you're going to get better results. That's what we take a look at. And we've done that all over. If we take that all the way back to the question before, as far as in the trucking industry, we see 7 to 9% decrease in fuel usage. If we take that back to the motorcycle industry, I was down in, as probably everybody knows, Sturgis, and we were doing infrared heat guns on exhaust systems on motorcycles down there, Harley Davidsons, Indians, all those guys. If we switch them over to the oil within 150, 200, 250 miles driving around, so they drove around for the whole week, and then came back and we shot their temperatures again using the same ambient temperature and stuff like that, we've seen a decrease of 25, 30, 35 degrees. So it's a decrease in their exhaust system, but it actually goes all the way back. Why did that happen? It's a decrease in their engine. So it's a decrease in that whole setup. Well, what did you change? What did you do different? Oh, I just changed the fuel or the oil. I mean, I just changed the oil and put different lubricant in. Interesting. So those are some of the different things that we do. We also make fuel additives. So some of the companies have come to us and said, hey, the DEF systems and stuff like that, they want a longer space in their regens. And so we made a fuel additive, which helps them with that, helps them give a more complete burn. When they went to that, they were burning, roughly about 96, 97%, 98%. Now we're giving them 99% like burn. So it's all about making a system better operating conditions and stuff like that.
Well explained. So why don't you tell us about what you guys have been up to in the last month? Were some highlights?
Well, a big highlight is we purchased another oil company. Like I told you in the beginning, we can't be bought or sold, but we can buy. We purchased a company called Oil
Okay.
out of DuQuoin, Illinois. And there's a couple major reasons why we purchased Oil. First off, they doubled our capacity. So their capacity was very close to what our capacity was. And as we keep on expanding, this last year, we finished out our sales year, as our corporate office will say, at $250 million or $250 million, however you want to put it out there. Well, we finished out at $250 million. We were almost to maximum capacity. So we're looking at 500 sales reps. How do we grow this company? What are we going to do to make sure that these sales reps, the new sales reps, are as successful as the guys who've been here 30 years? And so that's what Schaeffer's did, is they put their money where their mouth was and went out and bought another company. And we're going through right now. Hicks has a bunch of proprietary stuff there that we took a look at after the purchase. The other thing that they have that's really unique about their setup is they had a packaging facility. Previously, all of our stuff was manufactured in-house, but if we have quarts over at our booth and gallons and stuff, if we needed that put in a package, we had to send it out. Okay, now we'll just send it over to DuQuoin, or we'll manufacture those products there and then have them packaged, and then we can send them out to our customers. So the big thing is once again, we're trying to decrease some costs by cutting out the possibility of having stuff sent out. We can control, where it's all about quality control with us. So that's a big thing, is just looking at expansion. The other thing that we've done is we've gone to a couple of major manufacturers or equipment manufacturers and said, hey, is there something that we can do for you? And so there's a couple of things on the docket, I should say, that we're looking at, things that we can't bring out right now, but we're looking at as far as what can we do to help you run your business smoother and easy. So that's kind of what we've been doing.
Yeah,
So
exciting stuff.
it is very exciting.
Well, Glenn, thanks so much for chatting. It's been great to learn more about Schaeffer's Manufacturing Company. What booth are you guys at?
We are in 206.
All right, 206. Very good. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, just if you're at any shows
Mhm.
whatsoever, always stop by the Schaeffer's booth and talk to the guys. I just came out of another show last week, as I was telling you beforehand,
Yep.
and coming into this show, and we love visiting with people. We've had a couple of our people that we do business with right now stopped in, said, "Hey, thanks. This is what we're doing," and we make regular stops into those facilities. But just stop in and say hi.
All right. Very good. And if you're watching, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Biomass Magazine podcast. Until next time.
Thank you.